Hi muckers and welcome to the new Chronically Online podcast. Before we get in, I have a really exciting announcement, which is I am going on tour in February, and if there are any muckers in Brooklyn, Chicago, Seattle, LA, Dallas, I will be there in February. It is also called the Chronically Online Tour. I'm so excited. It is going to be the most deranged night of your entire life. Tickets are available down below. I will see you all hopefully in February. Again, that is Brooklyn, Chicago, Seattle, LA, and Dallas. I hope you enjoy the podcast. And again, they both have same names, Chronically Online Podcast and the Chronically Online Tour. I'm super excited. So hopefully see you in February. Tickets are available down below. Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to the Chronically Online Podcast. And I'm super excited. We're just going to dive right in. I'm joined by Oscar today.
I'm gagged. I am so gagged to be here with you, Adam, in this lovely space.
First of all, whenever I had announced, I know you know this, when I announced that I was going to be doing this podcast as a concept, I didn't really know what it was going to be. I had posted a video and I was like I have some ideas on people that I'd want to film with. And the first person that I said in that damn video was you and Queen of Melrose. And literally I was like, guys, please comment down below who you would want me to film with. It was just all tagging you.
Which was the most shocking thing ever. I think I couldn't really process it because to me, I'm like, you are so popular, you're so big, and I'm like, me of all people, I was pretty gagged, to be honest. No one's ever asked me before, so that was really exciting. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, but the thing was as well, I was like, there is so much lore that I feel like we mutually have that I'm super excited to dive into. So I think I may as well get into it. So first of all, I want to set the scene. So where did you grow up?
So I am an LA native. I grew up in the Valley, so it's about 45 minutes to an hour outside of LA. Yeah. Growing up, I always felt Hollywood was so far removed. I didn't feel like it was that close until I started driving and having to work. And then I was like, okay, it's actually a lot closer than I thought in my head. Mm-hmm. So it all kind of worked out for me, I think, because there really is nothing else I'm good at other than entertainment. I could not have been a doctor or have a serious job. I'm too unserious for real journalism. So
we need more unserious doctors though. We need more unserious doctors.
I don't know.
Oh wait, actually there's a concept. I don't really know if that's the best actually.
Can you imagine?
If I'm going through a surgery, I actually want the opposite of an unserious doctor.
Or unserious plastic surgeons who
some of the ones
everyone.
in LA clearly are, by the way.
Very that. And you see the twisted before and after. So I was like, damn, you were better before. I think more seriousness in medicine. Yeah.
Well, my full thing is how is it growing up in the LA area in general? Because I feel I came from such a small place that I feel whenever I experienced LA for the first time, it was such a jarring difference. And so you've had the overexposure your entire life.
Yeah, I think once I started working in entertainment and then kind of being more introduced to the culture, I guess, of LA, that's when it really started hitting. Growing up, it felt like a small town to me. I don't know why. I live 15 minutes from Calabasas, which people know as the Kardashian area. But growing up, that felt very, very far removed. It felt like the suburbs to me. So when I was watching these those Disney Channel movies where the girls were in the suburbs, I'm from a small town. I was same girl. That's me. I'm where I want to be in LA, and literally didn't process that it was so close. So it felt very far. And then, once I started working in entertainment, being at events and stuff like that, and then actually meeting people in LA with power, I think that's when I started noticing the shift, and then you start to process really quick that you are just a small fish in a big pond, and there's always going to be people hotter than you, wealthier than you, funnier than you. That's the hard part. Yeah.
I think one thing that's interesting, speaking to you, growing up within this area, is whenever I was a child, I think I was so consumed by American media. So it's interesting, you living in the place where most media is created. Yeah. Because as a child, it was Disney Channel was mainly filmed in the LA area. Nickelodeon was, very much so filmed out here. All the movies, all the YouTubers, all the influencers. And so that's what I dreamed for. And unfortunately, whenever I look back on my content, whenever I was 6 to 10 years old, there's an American accent there.
Really?
And people love to say now that I have an American accent. And I can understand that there is little twangs that I have picked up along the ways. But in these videos, it's embarrassing how much I was cosplaying as an LA local. So In a sense, I'm very jealous that you experienced this as a child, because that was what I longed for. And I think a question I have for you is, I always, as a child, was like, damn, if I was in LA, I'd be on one of those damn shows. So like growing up here, obviously you ended up in the entertainment industry anyways. Yeah. Was there ever an inkling of like, I'm going to be on Disney Channel, I'm going to be on Nickelodeon, I need to do this?
Honestly, never. The one thing I wanted was to audition for American Idol when I was like a teenager. I was like, oh, I can be on that show. Like, I cannot sing. I don't know why I thought I gaslit myself, I think, into think I could sing for a really long time when I was a kid. But I never thought I could ever be on Disney Channel or like an actor or anything. I'm very like dramatic, but I'm not like necessarily skilled at like any of the fine arts, if you will. I'm not a good singer. I'm not a good actor.
Does that matter for the Disney Channel people though?
There's some of those, like Selena Gomez, that's an actress down. An actress down, you know, so.
And a couple studio sessions and that's a singer.
Honestly, yes, a couple background vocals like mixed in, like that is definitely a singer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I never thought I could be that. Like it, weirdly, actually, I went to like, in my high school, there were like people who were like friends with like Miley and Selena, or like people like, I remember there was a girl whose dad directed like the Hannah Montana movie, and there was a lot of like industry people. But I also was just gagged at that. Like, again, it felt like so, out of pocket, I guess. I don't know. Like, there was someone when I was a freshman in high school, one of the actors from High School Musical was like a senior. And like, I remember when it was like one football game, Zac Efron came, Vanessa Hudgens came, and the Sprouse twins. And I was like, oh my God, like I was gagged, so gagged.
Do you know how insufferable I was as a child anyways? That if I had that,
access to that,
if I had that, oh my God. If people think I'm insufferable now, which a majority of the audience will be nodding along like this, if I had access to that, the fact that you're not like so consumed by it, like obviously you grow out of things, but like my obsession with American media and like Disney Channel and stuff like that, like I'm still trying to get rid of it. Like those Selena Gomez posters need to come down. Like, you know what I mean?
Do they? I don't know. I mean, she's worth standing still to this day.
I was a bit I'm always going to double down on that. Wait, so when you were in like college and stuff, at what stage did you start to make the shift or put plans in place to be in the industry? Because you were and have been still at Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, my first internship ever, I was a junior in college, and my first internship was at Entertainment Tonight.
Wow.
Which is crazy, because also like a lot of the people I work with now worked there when I was an intern, so it's like such a trip. Honestly, kind of fell into it. Like I said, my only interest was like entertainment and like media. So I got really lucky. My aunt knew someone who worked at CBS, and
are you a little Nepo baby? Are you a little Nepo baby?
I honestly am a little Nepo baby vibes, because she like passed along my resume, and that's how I was able to like get. First, they accepted a lot of interns though. There was like 30 of them, so there was quite a few of us. But that was like my foot in the door for sure. Is just getting my resume passed along, and then once I was there, I just loved it. Like I literally was. It was unpaid, and I was just like transcribing footage. Like they would interview someone for like 45 minutes, and I would have to type out exactly what they say, which
it's brutal.
It's brutal, especially now, because there's like PAs that do it now, and I'm like, damn, that was hard. But it just having that like my foot in the door and being like at the epicenter of like all of this happening felt so cool. And like the first event I went to, because they were really nice, where they like, let interns go to like premieres or junkets or stuff. And the first one I did was like, I think it was the Hunger Games Catching Fire premiere, and I am a Hunger Games stan.
That's a crazy start.
And literally I was just there like to take notes or whatever, but again, just being there and like seeing Jennifer Lawrence and stuff, I was like, I want to do this forever. It was so cool.
I think there's something really like interesting about the fact that like what you were doing when you were first an intern, like writing transcripts and stuff. I think there's something really sad about the fact that like a lot of companies now, if you were that age and brought on, you would not be doing that because of how many like AI platforms will literally just do that. And obviously there's pros and cons to it. Makes a lot of content very accessible that wouldn't be anyways. You know, maybe people that wouldn't be doing transcripts can now do it easily because of AI. But it's really sad as a concept that like so many things that long ago that people were literally whether they were an intern doing it or employed to do it, like don't do it anymore. That just like really popped into my head when you said transcripts, because there's like even these social media platforms are integrating AI now
right into it. Yeah.
You don't need to do that. So how long were you an intern before things started to change?
I was an intern at Entertainment Tonight for almost a year. It was like 2 semesters. And then even when I was like in college, I was like chronically employed because I was doing Entertainment Tonight. I was working at Target all at the same time. So I was going to school, working at Target. I interned at Entertainment Tonight for 2 semesters. Over the summer, I interned at a modeling agency, a music PR firm. And I think there was one other one at the same time. And then like another random like small PR firm. And then I did another internship at NBC doing publicity. Mm-hmm. And then I got really lucky because as soon as I graduated, I got a job offer from someone that I worked with at Entertainment Tonight. Mm-hmm. And they moved from Entertainment Tonight to Access Hollywood, which is it's basically the same thing, just at NBC instead of CBS. So I was at Access Hollywood literally like 2 weeks after I graduated from college, which was really lucky because I didn't even walk my graduation because I was already working.
You said I'm booked, actually.
I'm
really booked.
You just mail me the diploma. Like I'm solid. So
where did you go to college?
It's called Cal State Northridge. It's like a really small, like local school in the Valley.
Love.
I think our only claim to fame is
Oscar.
Me. They shot Legally Blonde 2 at that school.
Oh
yes.
wait, the second one is like
it's the best we got. It's the best we got. You know. And you're too. I think you're definitely too young. You know the show Teen Wolf with Dylan O'Brien.
Well, what age are you?
I'm 32.
You're in your 30s?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I kind of keep up, right? Because I'm still like, I'm
You're
still
in
on
your 30s?
Yes, girl. Yeah. But I feel like I keep up pretty well, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's the biggest.
And open the can of worms. The thumbnail.
That's the thing that shocked me the most. I literally thought we were the same age.
No. Girl, can you imagine? You are a baby compared to me. Like, actually.
What year were you born?
92. I know.
Same year as Selena Gomez.
Yes, me, Selena, and Miley, and Demi.
Wow, you were
Legends
really
only.
you were part of the squad.
Yes,
actually.
that's what like seeing them grow up. I don't know. It was such a trip because like literally parallels, but no.
Something that's interesting about that is, wow, first of all, did not know that at all. But also the fact that you were the same age as like, I classify that as peak Disney. Like I know people will say like Raven Simone and stuff, and that is definitely a peak as well. But I like think of like the Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
I think what I really want to know your opinion on is, so when I was growing up watching Disney Channel, and obviously I was just so obsessed with it. I'm born in 2002, and obviously they're all like 1992 and stuff like that. Like they're all in their 30s, now, right? So whenever I was watching them, they were like maybe like 16 to like 20, and I would have been like 8 years old or something. Don't know if that math's correct. I failed math.
Around there, yeah. That
like
sounds about right.
And it was really interesting because I remember growing up, and around 2013, Miley Cyrus Bangers and Selena Gomez was doing Spring Breakers, the movie that was like her raunchiest yet. And I remember there was, and I was like so obsessed. And I want to talk about Stan Twitter later, but like, so keep that in here.
In the back of my mind, yeah.
With Selena Gomez, I remember specifically there was footage of her smoking a cigarette, and this killed me.
Yes.
Like, this killed me. And it's crazy because I wonder if this is your same perspective of them, you know, going through their little like rebellious phase and stuff. Because for me as a child looking up to it, I was like, oh my God, like we've lost them. And then like I'm doing the same shit like a couple years later. So like you being the same age, how was it like?
Honestly, I was so sheltered as a kid. Like I was very much like wholesome vibes. Like I never drank until I was like a senior even, but I never.
What age are you then?
Maybe I was like 17 when I had a drink like at prom. And yeah, so I like really waited out. I still to this day haven't smoked. Like, I don't know. I'm just grew up very sheltered. Like I'm the youngest in my family. And I was always like, I don't know. Maybe it was, I went to Catholic schools. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I was so like, I remember like Miley's big thing was when she smoked like salvia or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like very similar to you at like I was too old to be like that depressed about it. I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, oh my God, I lost Miley. Like, I can't relate to her anymore. Like, she's not this like sweet little Southern girl anymore, you know? And when she was like posing, like, I think she was like topless with like a blanket or something. I was like, oh my God, no, we lost her. Like, I literally.
She's gone. She's gone.
She's gone. She's a bad girl. She's a bad girl. Like, I was on such a delay, like maturity wise. Like, I don't know. I think I was just way too sheltered. And also like, this is a whole other thing too. Being fat, I think, also delays you as when you're growing up because you're not exposed to like people wanting you like physically or like romantically. So that also is like people having sex or like kissing and stuff. I was like how can anyone do that? Like that's just not my experience at all. So it was very similar to you, despite the age gap. I was also like, oh my God, how could they possibly be smoking or doing drugs or posing topless?
Well, I think this feeds a lot into like, I love talking about parasocial.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
parasocial. And to kind of jump to a different person within the genre who I know we both love is Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I love that woman and I want to know your opinion on this. I believe that she is at like the example of a celebrity in parasocial.
Oh, yeah.
And
no, go ahead.
For me right now, I'm going to ask you a question
Yeah.
as a Taylor Swift fan, and I want you to take the floor because I love hearing people's perspectives of this. Do you believe that in 2024, Taylor Swift still feeds into parasocial?
That is a good question. Obviously, that's how she got her. That's how like her foundation is parasocial, right? It's like all you have to do to know me and to understand me is like listen to my music, and you'll be like my best friend. That's like the whole like thesis of her whole career. I think it's a little bit pulled back now, but then when you see her at the Eras tour, it is still very much that, you know, it is like if you understand like my songs, if you like me, I like you. Exactly. Yes. And it's like the cosplay through the eras and you see like the little kids there. I think she still uses that to her advantage, but I do think it's definitely pulled back just because I think she realized we all got a little crazy, especially when it comes to like the Easter eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
I think kind of a little bit of a shift was like her Netflix documentary, like Miss Americana on Netflix. And then there was like a scene in the beginning where like people weren't really treating her like human. I think someone like proposed to their girlfriend.
Oh my God, that damn clip. That damn clip.
And it's so
greet,
awkward.
Right?
Yes. And like it's awkward music and she doesn't really know what to do. And that's kind of like we're kind of unwell actually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're actually not treating her like a human. And then like the paparazzi walk when she left her apartment and then she talked about how it messes her up psychologically to like see herself. I think that was a little bit of a shift. But now I don't know. I think she uses it when she needs to and then she hides when she needs to. I think she's smart about, you know, our relationship with her in a way.
How long have you been a fan for? Because I really only became a fan during like fan during the pandemic. It was Folklore.
Oh, really?
For me, really
okay.
became a fan.
I'm like a debut stan, 2006. I remember I went through a country music phase when I was like in 2006. I really liked Carrie Underwood and Kelly Pickler. And so obviously when Taylor was on the come up, I remember specifically a girl in my, I want to say religion class. I don't know. She was like, oh, you should listen to those damn Catholic schools. Although this girl in particular was like, she was a little bad girl. I kind of live for her in retrospect. But anyway, she was like, oh, you should listen to like Teardrops on My Guitar, or maybe it was even Tim McGraw or something. You should listen to Taylor Swift. And then like I remember going on iTunes and buying her album when I got home. And then I was like a stan. Like I would go to school like with listening to her on my iPod, because especially in the beginning she's very much like not like the other girls chorus. She's like, I just don't fit in, like no boys
that
like
accent
me.
left very quickly.
It lasted one era, but and that was so my MO in high school. It's like, wow, I don't have many friends, like boys don't like me, I like the boys that I'll never have, like why can't I be pretty like her? So she spoke to my spirits, you know, that weird underdog mentality, I guess, even though obviously looking back at her now, she was like tall, hot, skinny, blonde. Like she was not the underdog at all, but it felt like it at the time, you know? So I was attached from the beginning, and I'm loyal the house. So I stood by her literally to this day.
So I've had this conversation with very little Swifties because I always tread lightly. But I always will like open it with like, I'm one of you.
Before you go in.
Maybe not like I've spoken to like some really, really, really intense ones. And I'm like, maybe not like as in it as you, but like I can, you know, feel your vibe. So I want to know your opinion on this as well. So Taylor had this run on albums and obviously like genres changed and blah, 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 blah. And I personally believe that the Parasocial was ramped up to its entirety. And I do believe that this was planned by Taylor, which again is a controversial thing. The Taylor's version, the way that was handled, I do believe that obviously she was the one that was done wrong in that. So hear me out. What I believe is that the way that her and Tree Payne, her publicist, who's one of the smartest women in Hollywood and how to turn a story as well, and how to basically like make the audience understand what you're thinking or what you're trying to think. I believe that the way they rolled out the Taylor's version was in turn trying to get the fans to re-identify with music that maybe they don't listen to anymore. So therefore, people were getting so exposed to so much music. And again, this was really around the time of like the pandemic when people were really identifying with artists. I do believe that she kind of, you know, like took on a couple different personality traits in the pandemic when we were all, you know, living a very different life. Like this very like, it's very artsy and it was very, I don't know the names of the artists, but she very much so captivated the vibe of a lot of like smaller, specifically queer artists at the time. And I want to know your opinion on, do you believe that Taylor's version, whether or not they thought it was going to do this, ramped up the Parasocial of people defending her, people feeling identified with her, feeling that they're her best friend, feeling that they want to help her? I want to know your opinion on that.
Honestly, I would agree with you too. I think, again, it kind of triggered that like underdog thing, right? Like all of a sudden she was done wrong by someone who seems like a big corporation. It's like her record label, Scott Borchetta, Scooter Braun. Like all of a sudden she was like done wrong, and it's taken the whole like narrative of like, you know, her songs, her music, her life's work was like taken away. Like she lost ownership of that. Was so like guttural. Like I remember that was around my like 2019 was like maybe my last time being like fully involved in like Stan Twitter, but I was like that, like I got in trouble at work because I was tweeting shit about Scooter Braun. I was like, let's go to war, like Scooter Braun, count your days. Like they literally had to
not
sit
count
me
your
down.
days. I agree with you.
And I was like tweeting photos of Taylor Swift walking away from like explosions, and I was like, here we go, like let's do it. Like I'm on the front lines. And they literally had to sit me down and was like, Oscar, you can't tweet this and work here because like what if we have to interview Scooter Braun? And I was like, okay, you spilled, but I
don't give
like,
a fuck, actually.
exactly, yeah. But this is my belief, you know? So I think it did like ignite that like, oh, this is a woman whose life's work were taken away by a man, you know? And it was like people wanting to support her almost as if she was like a small, struggling, like independent artist. Like that's how I was treating Taylor Swift. I was like, she needs my support. Like when she drops these re-releases, like I have to buy like 5 copies of it, you know? So I think that was a whole, like a big part of it. And then I think Red was the one specifically that all of a sudden shit really hit the fan, right? Because like All Too Well 10-minute version came
was
out.
a crazy moment, yeah.
And then all of a sudden like all the lore, like people rediscovered the lore, or like it was a mix of like new fans rediscovering the lore, but also like the older fans reliving that like era of being obsessed with like All Too Well and those songs, because that is like one of her strongest albums. And yeah, it really did like reignite that like parasocial urge to like protect Taylor Swift at all costs for some reason.
I think one thing with Taylor that's really strange as well is like I think she's one of the only artists that have such strong communities that are dedicated to like theories about her life.
Yeah.
Like there is, if people don't know, there is an entire subreddit called Gaylor, which is literally one of the biggest long-standing things about Taylor, where there are hundreds of thousands of people that are dedicated to picking apart and looking for Easter eggs that Taylor Swift is a gay woman.
Yeah.
And then there's other, you know, threads now on Reddit as well, which obviously Reddit, like, it's just...
It's a mixed bag.
I will always try my best to stay away. But there's other ones as well where it is focused on her relationship with Travis.
Yeah.
So there are people out there in the hundreds of thousands that dedicate their literal waking day and thoughts to picking apart and trying to fit in their narrative. Like I saw this post as well from Taylor Swift Eras Tour where she's doing like her Fearless, like it's fearless, and the lights in the background are rainbows. And there was a post and it had like thousands of people being like, she told the lighting people at this exact moment that she was saying that her love is for the rainbow behind her. And I'm like, you guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah. I've never been a Gaylor truther either. I don't know. I think, again, it is partially her fault, right? Because she did, like, in the interviews, she promoted the Easter egg. She's like, how many years in advance can I, like, tease something? She made it seem like all these Easter eggs are, like, around. But at the same time, I think she gives, I don't know, I think we give her too much credit sometimes. I do think Taylor is one of the smartest, like, businesswomen, like, marketing.
She knows how to work those fans.
Yes. But at the same time, this is someone whose, like, Easter egg for Lover was putting the album title, like, in a neon sign in the music video. She's like, you guys, I've hidden the title to my album.
She's so clever.
Literally, I'm like, her Easter eggs are really obvious. And I feel like there's a lot of the times where we almost, like, fans overthink it and are looking for Easter eggs when they don't exist. Like, the other day, there was a paparazzi photo where she had a necklace that had her initials TS on it, but she had it, like, backwards, so people thought it was a 12. So they were like, she's sending us the message, like, in December she's gonna drop Reputation, Taylor's version. And then there's like 70%.
You people need to go to mental hospitals.
It's like, it's a lot. And I'm like, I used to be all about the Easter eggs, like, back in 2019. I think that's when she started, like, announcing that she does this stuff, right? And at first I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then there was, like, this one infamous one is when she posted a photo of herself. And I don't know if you remember this, but she posted a photo of herself behind a fence, and there were 5 holes in the fence. And we all thought that collectively, we're like, oh, this is a countdown, 5 days. And she actually had to say, like, I didn't mean for there to be 5 holes in the fence. I wasn't thinking about that, but I'll be more careful about Easter eggs, whatever. So that was my first inkling. I was like, oh, we are applying too much meaning to everything that she posts. Like, maybe relax. Like, she'll be pretty apparent when she actually is, like, teasing or promoting something. A lot of people haven't outgrown that yet. I think it'll come in time for a lot of people.
It fucking better. I'm like, how many more albums do we need before you act all normal? Yeah. And I think my final question on Taylor is, what is your opinion of the Torture Poets Department?
It's not my favorite Taylor album, but I really like it, and it's grown on me. Especially the, like, at first, I'm more of, like, a poplar. I love Folklore and Evermore. They're, again, not my favorites. My favorite ever is Reputation, and then Lover is my number 2. Because I like a good, like, up-tempo, mid-tempo. That's
I also
kind of more
love
my
the
vibe.
Reputation cosplay that you did. I saw that on your Instagram, and I went,
yes,
diva, diva, diva.
I'm a rep girl. I mean, I literally got a snake tattoo because I, like, for some reason, she released Reputation, and I was like, this is also my Reputation. In my head, it really felt like I was going through it, but looking back, I was like,
gonna say, what were you going through?
Yeah, I had one guy I went on a date with one guy, and he, like, kind of ghosted me, and then I had a best friend at the time who, like, kind of, like, friend dumped me, and I was like, this is my Reputation. Girl, relax. Like,
my reputation's never been worse. So
literally, I was like, damn, like, I'm going through it. Like, this is my I'm gonna be so dark. I'm gonna be so dark-sided. Like,
nobody's heard from me for months.
Literally. And then I was like, I'm gonna lose a lot of weight. And I did. That did inspire me to lose weight, I guess. I think I lost so much weight during that era, so I felt like, I don't know, really attached to it. And that's where a lot of, like, I think that's why I stan it so much. And, that's, like, I think when I felt the most connected to her, weirdly. But yeah, I don't know. I think with, like, Tortured Poets, like, I really like it, and it's grown on me a lot the more I listen to it. But I don't think it's her strongest work. I think I get people's criticisms of it being, like, too long or, like, too wordy. I do think she does a lot of, like, synonyms or, like, big. I think a lot of the time she likes a word and she's like, how can I put this big word into a song? And she'll do it. And she'll do it. And she did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not my favorite. I do really like it a lot. There's never been a piece of media that she's dropped that I was like, this isn't for me. Like, everything she releases is for me. I think it's, as far as, like, a ranking in her discography, it's probably, like, middle of the road for me.
Really?
Yeah. There's some songs, I mean, it's just so long too. There's some songs that I really resonate with, but I don't know, like, Reputation and Lover too. Like, so much of Lover is so good. That's another one where it's a lot of songs and it could be, no pun intended, tailored a little bit. But there are the good songs in there are, like, songs that I will never ever get tired of, like Death by a Thousand Cuts or like Paper Rings, Cruel Summer. I've always been a Cruel Summer truther. And I will always go back to those songs. And every time I go back to them, like, it's still fresh for me.
What are your top 3 albums? And then my final Taylor question.
I would say definitely Rep, Lover, and then I think Red.
Okay.
Yeah. Ironically, those are the 3 eras I met her in, but that also might psychologically have like an effect on me, I think. But.
Okay, now that you've brought that up,
Yeah.
what were the conditions in which you met her? Because there was 2 photos I saw on your Instagram, or was there 3?
The first time I met her was Red. It was right after We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together came out, and I entered like a contest. It was like on YouTube. Before, I don't know if you remember, but before like it was like YouTube music videos, it was just Vivo.
I loved a Vivo
yes,
channel.
It was a Vivo
I always
channel.
dreamed of one day having one.
Yes, Adam McIntyre Vivo. It's coming. It's coming with a little Vivo logo on it. That kind of be fierce. She had a Vivo contest for like, it was supposed to be one super fan to meet her. And I did a little like video entry for it. And then you had to be like in the LA area, which I think helped like narrow it down a little bit. But then she was really nice. She couldn't pick one, so she picked like 5 of us, I think. And we had to go like shoot this little like why we love Taylor Swift. You know, it was like, I think it's still up on her YouTube, and it's like really cringy looking back at it. But I did make her laugh. I did make her giggle, and I think that's when I felt like proudest. We had to like give her this award, like congratulations on getting 1 billion views or something.
Wait, the Vivo Award?
Yes, the
they
Vivo
used to do that all
Award.
the time.
Yes, it was like me and like 5 other people. We presented Taylor with her Vivo Award. I think it was, oh my God, what? It must have been You Belong With Me and Love Story, I think, were her like Vivo certified. Like, yeah, it was very that. So that was the first time I met her. She was really, really nice. Like, it was quick meeting her, but like her mom came and gave us like little goodie bags, and like her and her mom would like quote our videos to us, so like it was proof that she actually like watched and
They were making
remembered
an
them
effort as well. Wow,
yeah.
they really know those fan dynamics down.
And then she even like flew us out to opening night of the Red Tour, like I think it was in Nebraska or something, and it was like a year in between, so like they literally like remembered and had us on a list and then contacted us to do all that, and it was so nice. So that was the first time. And then the second time was Reputation. I worked at Access Hollywood, and we got to just like write articles willy-nilly. I don't really know what the journalistic integrity of that was, but I just like randomly.
There doesn't need to be any. There doesn't need to be any.
Yeah, it's like not that serious. So I randomly like wrote an article about like how like Reputation. It was kind of a review, I guess.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean for it to be. I was just kind of like talking about my feelings. And then her publicist saw it, Tree, and then like reached out and said that like Taylor loved it or whatever. And then they put a quote from that. She was doing like on her Instagram like quotes from different like reviewers. And she used one of like my quotes in her reviews on Instagram, and I was like, I like dropped to the floor. I was like, oh my God, I'm on Taylor Swift's Instagram. And then when the Rep Tour started, Tree invited me to go like basically like pick a date to go to the Reputation tour. And I was like, and it wasn't like, she never said like a meet and greet or anything, but I was like, if I have a chance at meeting her, it's going to be opening night. Cause opening night was
a big night.
Yes, a big night. I think it was Arizona, I think I want to say. So I figured LA, I would have more competition. I was like, everyone is going to be in LA or like New York or something. So if I do a random town, like I'll have a chance. And then, so when I went, I flew myself there and then got my ticket at the like box office. And then in the envelope was like instructions on like where to go to meet her. And I was like, gag. And then
I know the gay scream that came out of you in that moment.
I was crying like holding this piece of paper because I've been in like Taylor's tours since her first one, since Fearless, and I like remember people getting like the magic slips. You know, her mom would come like give you a little tap and then say like, here, go meet her after the show, and like getting that like neon little thing, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And when we went to go line up and like Tree introduced herself, I was like, oh, I'm Oscar. She's like, oh, Taylor's gonna be so excited to meet you, and I was like,
damn.
Yeah, and then it was like she did a meet and greet for Reputation before the show and after, and so we were like the pre meet and greet, and it was like maybe like 6 or 7 like media people, and she was just like so nice. But I was giving very much like the Lover or the Miss Americana like Parasocial Olympics.
You proposed to her.
I was literally like, oh my, and again like the Stan Twitter part of my brain was like, oh my God, like I can't even look at you, like my wig is very Ricky Dillon tease now that I think about it. my wig is on fire. I was like, oh, I'm like, damn, I really was doing a lot. I was doing so much.
She's a straight woman. She loves that. She loves that.
Living. Yeah. And then the second time was for Lover, and that one was different. She was doing like this small like radio event, and then Tree texted me out of nowhere and was like, hey, are you in New York? And I was like, I can be. And then she invited me to go to this like little radio event. And then we did like a randomly, I think we were supposed to do photos like at a normal like step and repeat, but it was taken. So she took us into like the radio. It was like an office building, like a kitchen. And Taylor was like, what do you guys want to take photos with? And she took photos like with a trash can with someone. For me, it was like she got these like pretzel sticks and was like, what if we pretend to smoke these pretzel sticks?
That photo.
It was everything. It was everything. Like, she was having a silly, goofy time.
The caption
day.
on that is like, she was like, say they're cigars or something like that, right?
And then there was some of them where like Tree got a little nervous, I think, because Tree like selected the ones to give us, and it was the ones where it didn't look too, cigar-y. But I was living
God
that
forbid.
shit.
God fucking forbid.
She's America's sweetheart. But yeah, literally every time I met her, she was always been like literally lived up to the reputation of being like so nice and like, I don't know. There's not the one thing about Taylor. There's never one story of her like having a bad fan encounter. Throughout her like working for over a decade, there literally you'll never find one. You know, and she lives up to that in real life too.
I think that's a good thing. All right, I'm so excited because you brought up Stan Twitter.
Yes, I was waiting for this.
So this was the first thing that I text Oscar whenever I was like, I want to do this filming. I was like, we need to talk about Stan Twitter. So I wonder if we were, first of all, how long would you say your Stan Twitter experience lasted for?
That's a good question. I think I was like on Twitter, I think in the beginning. So I think I started in 2009, and I like unknowingly was like, I would only really tweet about Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, Gossip Girl, like shows I was watching or whatever. So I think I was like unknowingly in Stan Twitter for a little bit, but I think I really got in it in like maybe like 2015 to like 2019. I think that was like my peak being in it. Yeah.
So wait, so if you could give like a definitive end to that.
An end?
Yeah.
Definitely like I have such a specific end to it actually. My end was when was it? All of a sudden I was working for Joey Graceffa in 2020, and I had to tweet his like breakup with Daniel Prada, and I remember like helping him write that tweet.
Infamous Muckers.
Yeah, yes.
Infamous, you know the one. You know the one.
It's a hot topic over here. And I remember like everyone like making fun of him, and I felt bad because again, like I'm very loyal.
What? Was someone making fun of him for that? What?
I don't know who could have been doing that, and I was like. And it was, for some reason, I think Daniel specifically had like triggered the Katy Perry fans. I don't know what he did, but I was like, you guys leave him alone. I remember my response was like, they were going in on him, like using Katy. I don't know. They were like, this is what you get for not standing Katy Perry or something. And I was like, shouldn't you guys just be like, I don't know, like just listen to her music. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I got the wrath of like the Katy Perry stans. And
what
I was
era
like,
of Katy was this? This wasn't Witness, right?
It was post, maybe like
in between,
maybe around Smile almost, I think,
wow.
right? In between like Witness and Smile, maybe. So I was like, and then they took it as like a personal attack when really I was just saying like, if you love Katy so much, just go like listen to her music. Why are you upset? Why do you care what this man has to say? Like, he has no pull. But they were so like on my ass that they kind of like bullied me out of Stan Twitter a little bit. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. It was that, and also Gabby Hanna coming for me on Twitter, and then having to deal with Gabby stans. Dealing with Gabby stans and Katy Cats in around like 2020 was like my end for sure. I was like, it's too much. Yeah, I can't deal with it. It gives me too much anxiety. But I still like consume a lot of it. Like I to this day like am very involved. I'm very aware of what's going on in Stan Twitter. Yeah, I just don't engage in it anymore.
I mean, fair. First of all, shout out Daniel Prada. Hope you're doing well, babe. Hope you're doing well. Hey. Would love to have you on here.
I would gag.
So, anyways, hot topic right now.
We have to circle back to that.
So, what I will say is, Stan Twitter, I don't remember a moment of my childhood where I wasn't on it.
I was gonna say for you, it must literally be like your whole internet experience.
God bless my family. Unrestricted access to the internet.
Same.
You got that too. Mm-hmm. See, mom and dad, like it happens.
Yeah, it ends up fine.
So I remember like being a part of fandom culture. Like I used to run a Facebook fan page for Tori Vega, like the character.
That's iconic. That is such a slay. Oh
Unfortunately, it gets worse. And for 2 years, I ran a very successful, by the way, Miss Piggy fan page.
That's so fierce.
Where I would literally, I would post every day as her. Like, put me in a mental hospital. You think the Colleen shit was bad? Like, this was bad.
This explains so much. Oh my God.
It's true, but bad. So I had the Miss Piggy era. And so I had a really successful Selena Gomez fan page on Facebook.
Fierce.
Like, it literally had over 40,000 likes.
That's
and I
crazy.
Devoted my time to that. Like, anyways, so the problem was, our school, I went to all Catholic schools, by the way. So
oh my God, we're
Catholic
too
schools.
similar.
It's bad.
Oh my God.
They were trying to be so like modern, and they were like, we're not good. And this was 2014. They were like, we're not going to give you textbooks. We're going to give you an iPad with unrestricted internet access. So they gave us iPads instead of textbooks. So obviously every fucking person on class had their iPad up and we were on social media, we were playing games or something. So my Stan Twitter experience really ramped up in like 2013, 2014 when I got my first phone in 2013, and whenever I had fucking an iPad the entire day of school, and then I could go home and whatever. Like, literally I failed most classes because I don't know what the fuck was going on. I would look like I was writing things. I was writing tweets. And I was on Stan Twitter for a very, very, very long time. Like, it initially started with like the Selena Gomez Stan Twitter, like Miley Cyrus Stan Twitter, and then the Holy Grail, I find that there were communities for YouTubers. Like, I was a fan of Colleen first, Jenna Marbles first, and then basically I would just be a part of these communities. Yeah. And the Colleen one was obviously a main one. Hope she's doing well. Colleen, would love to have you on the sofa.
Please.
So the Colleen thing was a big thing, and then I, would interact so much with like her and other people that would like enjoy the content that it kind of just, you would get on a first name basis with like other fans. Yeah. We would create group chats, and infamously. And
Weenies, shout out Weenies.
Colleen's Weenies, hope you're doing well. Would love to have you on the sofa here.
A reunion, a Weenies reunion would be everything, actually.
Like the 12 of them like squished there. So I always remember being in Stan Twitter, but the bad thing is I look back at my Stan Twitter and I was like, wow, I was the nastiest piece of shit ever. Like, I was in the trenches, like bullying like Joshua David Evans, like Colleen's ex-husband and stuff like that on Twitter. Obviously she was literally like telling us the worst information and being like,
weaponizing
go attack. But I was still doing it and stuff. And it's like, Stan Twitter was truly one of the most formative periods of my life, but like it was so goddamn negative. Like beyond, like there was a time period as well where I was in Stan Twitter and it was like I would be interacting with like Britney fans, Rihanna fans, like Mariah fans. Like I would have like a Mariah profile picture and like all like this. And I was interacting with people. Literally Stan Twitter at its basis is people posting anonymously. Yeah. And that leads to, luckily my name was always attached to it. So I never was ever hiding behind anything. And if anything, my takes were always super weak because I was like, my parents could see this, which they ultimately did. But there were so many people that were just so anonymous and behind like a username that it was like the nastiest shit ever was on Stan Twitter, like about people against other Stan Twitter members. I'm like, wow, I really can't wait for like in a couple of years to like mentally evaluate myself and see what lasting impacts this had.
Yeah, there is such a dark side to it too. I think I definitely like romanticized it a little bit in my head because I guess for me, like I wouldn't have a career. Like Stan Twitter weirdly taught me every skill that I needed to know to like work in entertainment and social media. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like I see like a lot of Stan accounts where people, especially now with like TikTok and stuff, where people make the most like beautiful, insane like video editing skills, like graphics. Yeah. Like they basically are social media managers for free, which is like kind of insane, right?
I have
like
a little bit of history in that. You said unpaid social media intern at the start, and I went, what?
Bury that. But isn't that crazy? Like especially like your Selena Gomez, like Facebook, like thinking about something like that, where like people get paid to do something like that, you know, like that's people's career. So like Stan Twitter for me taught me so much about, you know, social media management, and I like learned video and Photoshop and graphics and everything because of Stan Twitter. Like I think a lot of the reason I'm good at like producing for entertainment news is because I'm so like informed by like Stan Twitter and Stan culture. But that other side, like you said, it's so nasty, and people would say the worst things about you and everyone else. I think there was a time where I was like very, very feisty. Like I could go back and forth. Like I could go back and forth with the Beliebers, like with the Katy Cats or whatever. But I do think there's a point where you kind of just outgrow it a little bit. Yeah. But it's also like, it's also, I'm very sensitive. So like having to engage with it all the time, like it consumes me. So now I just like will never look at any, like I never look at my mentions or whatever. Like I'll tweet about Taylor a little bit still because I still like love her and like I still love like the community, a portion of the community. But it's like exhausting to like be in it, because I think now even like it was bad like when we were in it, but I feel like it just, there is such a side of it where progressively it gets more toxic.
Also, these social medias are getting crazier. Like I can't, like on Twitter back then, like a lot didn't fly to be tweeted. Like even if you had the nastiest people on Twitter, like there was still a Twitter guidelines, and I feel like that's so like iffy now. That like I recently was, because I wanted to deep dive Stan Twitter these days, because I knew that I wanted to talk to you about this, and I looked into Stan Twitter, and oh my god, the craziest things you will ever see. Like I saw bad things, I'm sure you saw bad things, but like really bad. And I feel like there's this new phenomenon as well that like, because like kids and like teenagers are so much smarter than what I feel like I was at that time. They're literally like doxing each other.
Literally with ease. Like literally, they do it so fast with a quickness. I'm like, damn, like that's why I don't even like engage in it anymore, because they are like so smart and ruthless. And also I feel like because they're young, they don't fully understand like the repercussions. Like it does feel like very lawless, right? Like you can dox someone even though that's illegal and then get like nothing happened. Maybe you get suspended for 24 hours. Maybe your account gets locked just for 12 hours. Yeah, something like so small. Like there's no like real life ramifications for doing like the nastiest things to people. So it's like a little too much of the wild, wild west now. So I don't know. I think also like I try to focus on like the lover side of like Stan Twitter, you know what I mean? Like people being passionate about something and being like excited, and not so much like the feuds, because it's like at the end of the day, like what is it all for? You know what I mean? Like so your fave, like I don't what it, like you fighting against a kitty cat fighting against a Swiftie or something, like what's the point? You know, like, or especially Taylor, because obviously with the whole like blocking of the charts like claims or whatever, like every fandom kind of goes after her, and like a lot of them will go to defend Taylor or whatever. I'm like, what's the point? Like why am I gonna fight with an Ariana Grande stan? Like no one really cares at the end of the day, you know, like they're fine.
I think a definitive moment that I love telling people whenever it's about Stan Twitter, and this will be the same for you, is like they were like what was happening on Twitter during that time? And I'm like, well, if you want to know like how long I was on Stan Twitter, Pop Crave was literally just being created.
Literally, right?
And Pop Crave was it's so like iconic now. Like Pop Crave, and like you talk about this all the time on Just Trish with like Trish Crave and Adam Crave.
Adam Crave.
By the way, do you ever get accused of running Trish Crave? Because every fucking day everyone's like, oh, here Adam goes running Adam Crave, and I've also gotten allegations that I'm also running fucking Trish Crave. And I'm like,
I sent mail to Trish Crave. I can confirm it's not you.
I literally reached out to Adam Crave and I was like, hey babe, like is there like who are you, just so like I can like follow you, and like if anyone, like if you allow me to say who you are whenever. And luckily like it's this girl Abby, and she's so sweet, and like I literally just sent her like same as you, I sent her mail like 2 weeks ago, and she's so sweet and stuff, and like she responds to like everyone being like Adam runs his account, and she's like, bitch, no he doesn't. But also I don't know if you ever saw that, but they're like our entire like communities of people on Twitter that genuinely believe that I run Trish Crave.
I had no idea.
Also, what's really bizarre to me about this concept is that people can like on one hand be like, Adam is so negative against Trisha, and then we have an entire other community being like, Adam runs all the fucking fan page. And I'm like, bitch, pick a narrative. But anyways, so there's all these new facets of like Pop Crave, and it's so big and iconic now. And like I find out my major news from Pop Crave before I find out from the fucking news.
100%.
And so I love telling people like, yeah, whenever I was in Stan Twitter, like Pop Crave was really just like indie, and like it was really just like up and coming and stuff. But whenever I think of Stan Twitter and like growing out of it, it's a like there is a moment where you grow out of it. I feel like most people should. But you said about it's like had lasting impacts on your career in a positive way. Yeah. And I also think this because I have had many conversations with my parents where specifically my father will break down in tears about the fact that I had unrestricted internet access.
Really?
And he gets really angry and upset about it in terms of like like what I've gone through or what I've seen, basically. He like, oh my God, like he will bring it up so often. He's like, I wish you didn't do YouTube as a career. Like I wish it went different in your life because I just feel like I wish that you didn't see or have to go through what you did. And I'm like, okay, well, everything like led me to here. Like if I wasn't on Stan Twitter, I would not be doing YouTube. I wouldn't understand social media, like exactly with what you're saying. So I think, I guess for like an older generation, sorry, Dad, like it's hard to understand that like one thing has to happen for the other. But I'm so glad you made that point because I truly do believe that without Stan Twitter, I would not be able to do what I do now or understand the deep lore behind things. And I think that that is exactly like what you were getting at there, which is like you learn so much in that climate. You learn about fandoms, you learn about, you know, editing different things. Like whenever I was on fan pages editing, you learning about Photoshop and stuff. Like I'm gonna be honest, like yeah, it was negative, but I feel like I learned a lot. Yeah,
and those skills are like almost like unteachable in a lot of ways. And it's so weird because again, like working in entertainment, it's like everything is so informed by stan culture, and a lot of the times like these like executives and stuff like are amazed at like what I know, and like I know that something's gonna hit, and it's like I know because I'm like chronically online. Like I'm so chronically online that I know like what the fan bases care about, like what the mainstream like media is gonna care about. Like we do shoots with like say like Lady Gaga or something for the joke or whatever, and then I will help them write questions based on like what I know like the fans, stans care about, you know, because I see like almost every fandom, you know, or like if I know we have an interview with like Lady Gaga, if I'm not like in that community in the weeds, like I'll go immerse myself in it and like learn about what they care about, what they want to see, and then like inform our interviews with them to make them something that's actually like special that people are going to care about, that gets the views. But it's funny because to me that's like, and it's probably you as well, that probably feels like it'd be common sense, but like to these like other people who aren't chronically online, they're like very amazed by it. It's so funny. But I genuinely like I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for Stan Twitter. I think I kind of see where your dad is coming from, because at least for me, I did have like I was on the cusp, right? Like I in my teenage years is when Twitter became a thing. I was like what, like 15 or 16. So I at least still had like, you know, that like adolescence, childhood where like I was online, but I was playing like, you know, Neopets or something. I don't know. So maybe that made you grow up a little bit faster because you are like exposed to so many different like people, good and bad, you know. I was gonna say some good, some bad. Yeah. So that does kind of like make you grow up a lot faster, I think.
Did you play Club Penguin?
A little bit of Club Penguin, a little bit. I was like, again, very loyal. Like I was on Neopets. A lot of people left.
You were on Stan Twitter for Neopets.
Honestly, Neopets was the first Stan Twitter for me in a way, because there was like the message boards for different fandoms or whatever, and you could like decorate your like profile for different artists. And I remember like I had like a Miley Cyrus one. I had like an Ali and AJ one.
Just so gay.
The gayest. And I would have it no other way. But yeah, Neopets was probably like my first Stan.
Wait, but what other games did you play as a child?
Oh my God. I played a lot of the Tycoon, like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, a little bit of Club Penguin.
Did you ever play Habbo Hotel? I got groomed down there a lot.
No.
Did you not? That's like, I feel like that's like an older.
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Habbo Hotel. Maybe it's a big thing in Europe. I feel I've talked about this on live streams. It was like this community game where like, obviously just like one of the free to play ones. And it was like this entire server, and you're like, your little figure is this size, and it's just like this message board and stuff. But it's like infamous. Like people will speak about it now if they played the game, that like you would be like invited back to like older men's houses in the game, and they would be like flirting and like texting.
That sounds like something I would be very into if I had known.
I was into it, but the problem was I was like, wait, I have so many friends.
Oh yeah, there's like, actually that's not the case. Nothing of the sort. Yeah.
But Club Penguin was the main one for me. Moshi Monsters.
I do remember that one.
I fucked that up. I fucked the Moshi Monsters up. I feel like any other ones, it was literally just me playing like The Sims or something like that.
Yeah. I was also Sims.
Are you basically like, were you a big gamer? Because I never really was. My brothers were, but not me.
Yeah, not like huge. I would say I'm not like a, you know, like a Pokemon or anything, but there were some games I played a lot of like Pokemon or like Nintendo DS games, like Nintendogs, like something like that. But I wasn't like a gamer down, you know. I liked it, but I wasn't like full blown.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, for me, I just wanted to spend time on Twitter. Like,
I feel you.
I was like, why would I spend time playing this game when I could be like
Which Stan Twitter is kind of a game if you think about it. So
it was just every day was different.
Yeah,
every day was
different.
I really just look back on it and I'm like, wow, this just took up such a big portion of my childhood.
It's especially thinking about like YouTube Stan Twitter, because I guess I was kind of, I don't know if you might be like too young for it, but like Guru Gossip was like a thing. And that's where like I lived for a bit. I would never post, but I was always reading the tea because I was like so nosy. And it was like when beauty gurus were first starting to become a thing. And I was like, oh, damn, this is tea in here.
Well, Guru Gossip and the bakery, or the Gossip Bakery, or there was, whatever the fucking name was. It was these communities that Colleen would send me to about Josh.
Really?
And I was like, right, like I'm chronically online and all this bullshit, but like, how the fuck do you use this website? Like, the Guru Gossip was like the oldest looking website you've ever seen in your entire life.
And it was a mess. And then like threads would close, and then you would have to find like the continuation. And I was like, and then all the ads are crazy.
It was the hardest thing to fucking navigate. I'm like, please. I'm like, she's lucky I loved her dying, because like otherwise I like learned how to use this.
Lost in there, yeah.
But there was another one. It was like the Gossip Bakery or something like that, and they were. I remember on my school iPad, I would be sitting in like science class and there would be 3 tabs open. It would be the Twitter group chat, it would be Guru Gossip, and it would be the Gossip Bakery, whatever it was called, right? And they like rebranded it multiple times because it kept getting shut down. But I feel like that concept now is Reddit. Because I was never a part of Reddit, and I'm still not a part of Reddit because I'm just like, oh, I don't really want to mentally regress to that time period of my life. But with Reddit, I really do feel like it has taken aspects of like Twitter, of gossip sites, of whatever, and it's created these like communities. I mean, like Reddit fucking terrifies me. Like I also feel that Reddit is more, for some reason, nasty and unfiltered than what like Guru Gossip ever was, which is so crazy. Because it's like an official social media.
Yeah, it's hard because there are like good communities. Like there is like the Just Trish Reddit, which is like all very positive because it's like it was made to be more of a positive space. So like the moderators,
do you moderate that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, don't know who does, but they're like
it's Adam Crave and Trish Crave.
Yeah, honestly, they're joint forces. Yeah, they are locked in over there because they're. It's like so positive that like they make it very clear, like, no snark or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I feel I don't really go on there as much because kind of what you're saying, like I would be very involved in there at the beginning of like Just Trish or whatever, and I would always be there like if people like had questions or like misunderstandings like about, because we talk for so long that sometimes you like fumble your words or whatever, and people can misconstrue them. So I was always like, let me just go clarify, but quickly I saw like if I posted something there, it would get screenshot and then taken somewhere else, and then it would be analyzed there.
Yeah,
and I just felt like
forum.
Yes, yeah, and then one where it was more negative, Yeah. So I like was realizing I was like on this like constant like loop of having to like clarify myself or defend myself weirdly. Because I went into it a little naive. I was like, if I'm just honest and if I'm very transparent with everyone, no one...
They don't care about honesty over on Reddit.
They definitely do not. I was like so naive about it. And recently is when I started like weaning myself off. Like I go in, especially for like hot topics, like Reddit is very helpful because it's like such a good aggregate of like what, again, like people care about, especially like in our space, like what is a trendy topic. But I had to like adjust myself and know where to look, where not to look, basically. I think the big shift for me with Reddit was specifically, I remember it was do you remember like the Tana Brittany Broski thing when like Brittany
would go, the podcast and Brittany being like, what'd you say? It was,
I love you, but like they would kill me if I like was on canceled or whatever, which I think probably true.
Yeah.
Probably in retrospect, probably true. But I remember because I like Britney, and then I still do. Like, she wouldn't go on Just Trish either, but I was like, I never took it personal, and I was trying to explain that to people because like our viewers were like also upset at Britney. I was like, well, no, don't be like giving Britney hate because it's not really like, yes, the idea of her not wanting to be like on a controversial like women's podcast sucks, but it's the standards that's set by like everyone else. You know what I mean? Like if everyone else was like less misogynistic, then she wouldn't have to like also carry that weight too, you know? So I was trying to say that. And then I was, it got like cherry picked and picked apart to where it was like, Britney's fans were saying, oh, you're just trying to cause drama. Like you're just trying to stir the pot. And I was like, I'm actually trying to like stop it, know? But that was when I was like, okay, there literally is like no winning, you know? So you have to just kind of like, you know, let people think what they want. But I still do like some of the subreddits, you know, like there are very like sweet people on there, some very helpful. I think where it gets toxic is like people go to like air out their grievances, and it's like the snark ones and specifically are like people fuel each other's hate for one person. And it's, again, like a hobby, you know? And it's also like people are older there, I think, too. So I think that's why it gets a little bit darker, too, because it's not like, you know, 8-year-old Adam on Stan Twitter. It's like these full-grown adults.
Somehow worse.
Yeah,
Somehow
it is.
worse.
It's a lot. It gets really dark.
Have you ever met Brittany?
I don't think so. I've met a lot of people. I don't think I've met Brittany. No.
I met her once at a VidCon party, and I remember that I was super nervous to go up to her. And I went up to her and I was like, hey, like, I'm super sorry for interrupting you. Like, I'm sorry to be annoying. Like, would we be able to take a picture? And she was so fucking lovely. And she talked to me about hairstyles and took a photo. And then I remember like the day or two after, she was doing like a video or a tweet or something. I don't know what it was. And she was like, I find it so annoying when people come up to me and say like, sorry for interrupting you. Like, of course you're interrupting me.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, like, I'm sure this is like aimed at like so generally, but I had just done it. And I was like, wow, I like really worked up the courage to like say that. And she was lovely and she took the photo and she like really like, she was talking with her friends and she like turned around and she like made small talk and she really knew how to work it. But I was like, damn, Brittany, I was like, it's
kind of a radio.
I'm trying to think like, I would love to hear your opinion on like meeting influencers and stuff. So I haven't met that many. I mean, I've met Brittany. She was lovely. I met Emma Chamberlain twice. She was lovely. I met her at a Louis Vuitton after thing in Paris like a couple years ago. And then I met her at the time boyfriend's show, and she did not want to take a picture with me because she didn't want to
be seen there.
The boyfriend's show. And what's really funny about that is I showed up to the concert like during the encore because my friends fucked up the timing and accidentally sent me to, we were meeting at Saddle Ranch before, obviously, and they accidentally gave me the location of the Saddle Ranch in Anaheim instead of
Hollywood.
Yeah. So I fucking Uber on my own to the Saddle Ranch in Anaheim. And then I'm like, well, fuck you guys. So then I go to the concert, another like fucking 40 minutes. I arrive right before the encore. Who's right in front of me going in secretly at the end of the concert? Emma Chamberlain. And I go, Emma! And she like turns around and like fully panics, but she was so lovely and took like another photo with me. But wow, she really did not want to do that. I haven't really met that many. I mean, Colleen Ballinger, only amazing things to say there, of course. I'm trying to think. I don't really think I've met any others. Actually, in terms of filming this podcast, this is the first time that I'm going to be meeting like a lot of these people for the first time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have a different perspective now, whereas like give me this a couple years ago and I would be like, oh my God.
Yeah. I
feel like I have a little bit different of a perspective. I don't think I've met that many people. And I also think that like, there's a lot of people that like probably wouldn't want to meet me as well, which is completely fucking valid.
I feel that too. Yeah.
So, to kind of like circle back to our previous thing, without saying too much about it, of course, I feel that there's an impact as well with Colleen's friends or ex-friends that like have this perspective of me now. Like, I have nothing bad to say about Joey Graceffa. Really don't. Have never, like, literally, like, the only thing I've said about Joey was the breakup video, and LOL, we'll still double down on that. But I feel like there's like people within that Colleen's friend group, whether they're friends or not now, who want to keep a distance, which I completely understand.
Yeah. And
I feel like one of the main people that like started the like, maybe we don't need to like treat Adam like he's going to expose us like Colleen, was Rosanna Pansino.
Yeah.
She really went on the fucking line, like getting so much criticism for like associating with me, and Colleen still followed her right until me and Rosanna filmed our first video together, and Colleen like unfollowed her or blocked her or whatever like right after filming it because Rosanna posted a picture with me and I was like, serves you right, you bitch.
Funny.
Shows up in your timeline. But I think that again, your stance on this may be different than mine, just on the basis that like I feel like there's a lot of people in the industry that maybe are a little bit scared to just like text me in terms of like Adam's gonna expose them like they did with Colleen, and I'm like, bitch, that's two very different situations, you know what I mean? So I feel like there's that, and I feel like the Joey and Daniel thing really comes into that because they were in that scene very much so with Rosanna and Gabby and, you know, like that Escape the Night era.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll always give Daniel credit on, and I still do to this day in every single video, is that Gabby Hanna Escape the Night video 8. Like that is one of my favorite videos on the platform, and I will always, even if I want to say something negative about Daniel, I will open it by being like, he was amazing. I literally will give him his flowers always. So yeah, I feel like that's my opinion with them too. But in terms of Joey Graceffa, yeah, I really haven't said anything about Joey ever. Sorry, I had to do it about the breakup video, and I got a viral tweet out of it. So thank you, Joey. But yeah, I think that's my perspective of it, that there's probably like a lasting impact a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because I also relate to that, obviously, because like I do a podcast with Trisha, so there obviously is a similar connotation, you know, and then also like, again, very similar. I feel like our titles are so like they're very dramatic, and I make them very like incendiary and dramatic, especially now, almost like as a troll. Like I feel like our audience knows that it's never like as serious as it's titled, but I know for a fact there's a lot of people who get very anxious when they are in a thumbnail or a title, which is like so silly to me. But again, I think there was, we've got rejected. Obviously, we talked about being rejected by Britney, but there's also a slew of other people who like don't want to be associated too, which is so funny.
Yeah.
I think we kind of picked up on that too. We had like Ted Nivison on the podcast a couple of months ago, and he's like a commentary YouTuber who's literally like friends with everyone, and he's very like unproblematic and stuff. And I thought for him it'd be like a reach because he is so like unproblematic, but he was like, yeah, like and he's straight, so also he doesn't really get the vibe, you know, which was kind of like the charm of it all, I think. But he was like, I guess I would associate guys with just like, you know, gossip and drama and vlogging. I didn't expect you guys to be so like fun. And I was like, well, I think there's like a similar with you know, like, because it's like, I guess we can't really blame anyone because it's our titles and stuff.
I really don't blame anyone for having this perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it is funny because like actually like if we were to collaborate with anyone, it'd be so like not that, you know, like we never push to talk about like drama or anything. So it is very funny. But also what is funny is when you're talking about like, you know, meeting influencers and stuff, the one I would say pretty much all my experiences, I think because I've met a lot of them because I've done a lot of, like my, I guess, niche in entertainment, like for interviews and stuff, was like influencers and YouTubers. Like literally since like 2016, I was interviewing them. So it's all been like very professional. And then obviously like I worked with Joey for a bit. So then that angle was more like, you know, friend peer level or whatever. And literally, and not even just saying this, the bad experience that I remember was Colleen. And that's why it's so interesting. Yeah. That's why it's so interesting. Because I never was like I feel validated. No, for real. Like, and this was me like working with Joey and having like a bad experience with her. And that's why like when everything like first started where you were talking about her, I was like 100% believe it, because it was like very like off-putting. Like, and it was just like the video, we specifically working on a video, like I think Joey and Colleen, this was early 2020, I think like pre-COVID and everything, but they filmed like a video trying 90s toys or something. I don't know. And Joey had to go like,
so excited.
Yeah, it's really thrilling, cutting edge content, never seen before. And Joey like had to go downstairs to like get a SD card or something. And then it was just me and her in a room, and I was trying to like make small talk as we waited. And it was like, she was just looking on her phone, like wouldn't even look at me. Like, and I was like, girl, like it's just me and you here. Obviously I'm an employee of Joey's, but I'm not like, you know, I'm his producer. I'm not like someone, I don't know, below you or anything. But I literally will never forget it. So that's why when everyone was having these stories, I was like, yeah, I fully believe them, because she is just not a very warm, like sweet person, you know? So I think that was like my worst like encounter. Everyone else, I think, especially coming like, you know, there's that dynamic of like being an interviewer and they're the interviewee. So everyone's like really nice. I haven't really had like a bad like interviewee experience. I did interview like Emma Chamberlain, like I think maybe her first interview, the first time she was in LA. And she was really, really nice, but I asked her a lot of like Dolan twins questions.
I know she loved all those.
She was so, actually I'll circle back, but she was so nice in the interview, but then her friends were very protective of her, and they found me and were like, and also they were like 16. So
is this the friend group that she's no longer friends with?
Yes,
like
the Gerties, I think, like, yes. They were like, how dare you ask about this? Like they were DMing me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, because it was one of those things, like if you told me after like, oh, I don't want to talk about that, I wouldn't be like, no, like I wouldn't press it, you know? So it was so weird to have like such a good experience and then like get that afterwards. And also Gabby Hanna, that was the other one that went a little awry. But other than that, I think my experiences have been pretty good with everyone else, I think.
I feel like Oh, the Colleen thing makes me feel so validated.
No, I was like, oh my God, I totally get it. And that's why I think also our lore too, I don't even know if you remember, but when you were getting like copyright claimed on like a clip from Joey's vlogs, I remember I was like, no, like I have to get to the bottom of this because I'm like, there's no way I can stand by if he's actually like claiming this. And I remember DMing you, I was like, hey Adam, like just so you know, like I checked with Joey and we're looking into it, you know. Like,
yeah. I mean that's fair. And again, I feel like that's kind of my only experience with Joey. So I don't put it past him probably not liking me, but also Joey Graceffa liking me is not like I don't go out of my way to try befriend the people that were once so close with Colleen. But also in terms of to kind of further prove the Colleen part, I mean, whenever I was like at the shows and stuff like that, and my friends were at the shows, like the way you're saying about her not wanting to talk to you and stuff like that, she would do that to fans who just wouldn't pay her. Like,
so weird.
She had just this incredible ability to like know when she wants to interact with people and how she's being perceived. And I think that that's one of my main things. And I it's really interesting you say that because in reaching out to people to do this podcast, a lot of people have been bringing her up to me, and a lot of people have been like, "Here's my experience." They're like, "Oh my God, Adam, it's so nice to hear from you. Just want to let you know, like, I like stood by you in the Colleen time, and like, here's my like experience on her." Like people that she was best friends with, and I'm not gonna say names, but you can all like figure out when you see the rundown of the guests.
Yeah, it's not surprising
but
at all.
It just kind of. It sucks that would happen specifically. I don't know why she wouldn't be like trying to pander towards you because you were working with Joey. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It puzzles me. Even if I remember I interviewed her too for Escape the Night. I think it was All Stars. It was like her, Bretman, and Joey came into my work when I was still working at doing like interviews. And again, she like obviously like Bretman and Joey were really great, but she was always, I don't know. I think because this is just me projecting, but because she also has that like traditional media experience of like, you know, she was on Broadway and she was on Netflix and she's friends with Ariana Grande, like because she has that, that she didn't have like the humbleness maybe of like, like someone who just got plucked out of like a small town and moved to LA and was doing YouTube full time. I don't know. She always just had a weird vibe to me.
It was always interesting whenever, again, I'm like diva about that Daniel Prada video. Like I love that Gabby Hanna video so much. Escape the Night. I was gonna say Escape the Nightmare. Love that so much. But it was always really interesting to me in the moment that like Gabby was being taken down in such a strong way by everyone, not just like Daniel, because the stories about her were so valid and I believe all of them, quite frankly. But that in turn, like Colleen was being praised. Like in the video, like again, as much credit as I'll give Daniel for that video, a big takedown of Gabby was that Gabby told Daniel that Colleen was talking shit about Daniel. And Daniel was like, there's no way Colleen would do that. So here we have Gabby lying again. And I'm like, please, like I've heard things myself through her about you. So I think the more I think of the Daniel video, like overall, I think it's really great and stuff. But whenever I've like looked into it a little bit further, I think that there's a lot that like Colleen being the golden child really was a big reason for taking down Gabby. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that obviously as the years have gone on, people have like realized things about different creators in general and like different opinions have changed. And also to hold any creator like Daniel Prada to a video that he made with the information at the time back then in now is completely irresponsible. And again, the fact that the video has aged so well in general, I'm like, wow, he really, you know, diva. What I was thinking was whenever you were saying about Just Trish, I feel like what's really interesting about you being at Entertainment Tonight is you have interviewed Trisha before in Entertainment Tonight. So like, how the hell has it gone from you interviewing Trisha to like you are such an integral part of that brand now? You know what I mean?
It is honestly still so bizarre to me too. I mean, I met Trisha ironically at Joey and Daniel's Christmas party. I want to say maybe 2015 or something. I remember so vividly because she had just like literally like that week gotten broken up with and was having a mental breakdown. And then she was at this Christmas party in like a little, I think it was like a Mrs. Claus dress or something. And she was sitting at the like table alone. Like, and it was a mix of YouTubers. Like Justine was there, but like no one she was like, you know, in a clique with. So she like was just there and I was like, oh, it's Trisha. And like, she was like so nice and talk to her like immediately. And she's really good. Like when she meets someone, usually she remembers. So then when I was working at like Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood, like I would always want to interview her because she was always kind of in a mess, you know? And she's, especially back then, she would be very candid about her feelings.
There was always a story there. There was always a story.
There was always a story. Like you could always book her for an interview and she would have something to say, you know? She just like remembered all the times, you know? So I would know her kind of on like a friend level ish because of Joey and Daniel, but then also like on the professional level from interviewing her. And I think there was like 2 other times before Just Trish where she like almost started a podcast and asked me to produce, but then something happened. It fell through. Again, with Colleen, I was supposed to do that one. And then I found out after the fact that like Colleen told her not to like hire me or whatever. But
really?
Yeah.
Because Colleen was also saying like, I'm going to lose sponsorships. Like, we're not going to get any sponsorships. Again, I'm literally phrasing things Trisha said. This is, no one has told me this. But Trisha said online, like, Colleen was making a big deal that, like, Colleen working with Trisha is going to, like...
such a risk or whatever.
Yeah, it's such a risk and they're not going to have sponsorships. And the fact is, well, I didn't know that she had said that about... But again, it literally is like, oh my God, pisses me off about this woman. It literally is about control.
Literally, yeah. And I think Trisha was like... oh, we should like have a producer. They're going to be me or Daniel to produce Oversharing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then and it's true because I got a text from her. I think it was early June, but like before it started, a couple weeks before it started. And then I didn't hear from her again.
From Colleen or from Trisha?
From Trisha.
Okay.
And then it wasn't specific. Like it didn't say Colleen, but like, would you be interested in like producing our podcast or whatever? And then I was like, yes, absolutely. Like, let me know if you need, like, I'll send you a resume, whatever. And then I didn't hear back. And then I saw Oversharing come up and I was like, I didn't get it. And then obviously that quickly, actually, maybe it was even like a week before like everything, you know, that whole summer came out. She asked me again and I was like, yes, absolutely. Then I just like did it. I'm like, here's my resume, blah, blah, blah. And then then I heard back after that whole summer, like I think even before the ukulele, when everything was just starting, I heard back.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Like the timing of it is also weird. Like looking back, it was the perfect timing last summer to start working with her. Cause I think it was like 2020, maybe like 2021 where she was thinking about it. And then again, like, June of last year or like with Colleen, which I wouldn't, again, like me and Colleen, it just wouldn't have worked if I were to do that podcast. So thank God that didn't work out. You walk into
and Oversharing and go, Colleen, babe, it's been so long.
I don't even know how I would interact with that woman, to be honest. She's just so like off-putting to me. And
you could talk about her. She would really like that.
Yeah, really honestly, like that. T. That's her favorite subject, I hear, right? So it did end up like working out perfectly. And when I started working with like Just Trish, like it was kind of pitched where I would like just be like producing, and I was also editing at first too, and I would like kind of edit myself out of it because I was like also like very self-conscious of how I spoke and everything. So I was trying to keep me out of it as much as possible, weirdly. And the turnaround was also kind of crazy too because we would film on Monday, so I would do my day job until like 2:00 and then go to her house, get there at 3, film until 6. And then spend all night editing so I could post it.
The 3 hour. Doing both of these jobs at the same time is really...
Yeah, it was a lot. Luckily, we have an editor now, Jimmy, who's great.
Yeah.
And also helps a lot, like, mentally, I think, to not have to edit myself, you know? But yeah, when I started, it was, like, so crazy because I was supposed to, like, kind of be more, like, behind the scenes. And I would try to, like... It was called Just Trish. So I wanted to be in it, like, as the least amount as possible with it making sense. But luckily everyone responded really nicely, which is great. I think that's very reassuring because I was literally like, I was very intimidated about like, I don't know, being in this podcast, especially it's supposed to be just about her. Like I didn't want to take away from her. Like my goal was to always kind of like set her up to be like funny and, you know, have like commentary or whatever. Like I never wanted to like take away from that. So it all kind of worked out.
I feel like the dynamic of the podcast works so well, obviously, because there is this back and forth. And I think this is a good question that I had said this to you before we started filming, but like, how does it feel to go from, first of all, did Entertainment Tonight have any problem with you doing this? Because a lot of places wouldn't want you doing a podcast on the side.
I was so scared. Like first I was like, no one's going to know. I don't know why I thought that. I was like, I'm going to do this on the side and like, no one's really going to know. Like they're so like separate worlds or whatever. It's obviously like they know about it now. It's funny because a lot of them, like the people I work with, like come up and ask me like, oh, like, you know how many people like come up and say like, oh, do you work with Oscar? And I'm like, that is so funny to me. So they're all very, very, very supportive. My manager also, like, she she was my manager for a bit. She left and now she's back. But while she was not working as my manager, she like would text me. She's like, I'm watching the podcast. Like randomly, like the Just Trish subreddit came out. Now I'm in the subreddit. I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. So all my managers have known and been very, very supportive, and they let me have a very like flexible schedule too.
Okay,
like, cause I have to go into the office 2 days a week. And when I go in at like 4:30 or 5 a.m. so I can get out early so I can like work on the podcast after. I know it's crazy to balance both, but like they're very, very supportive. And literally any other publication, I think I would have been fired, but they're very, very supportive, thankfully.
Well, there's like a couple people I know who have asked to be on podcasts and like they have been immediately told no.
Yeah.
Specifically people I know back in London. But I love this question, and it is, how does it feel going from, and you're still in it,
yes,
traditional media covering these people to literally being the front person of a huge podcast and literally having like an entire devoted audience to the concept of the podcast itself, and also you?
That it's such a weird question. I think in my mind I separate it so much. Like I think like disassociate it, right? Because I'm having to deal with it more, I think, because now I'm starting to do like streaming a little bit, and that's like very like me front facing. Like I'm directly interacting with people who like me in the content, so it's like I have to come to terms with it a little bit more. Like I'm literally being forced to, but I honestly kind of like disassociate from it. Like I get people like coming up a little bit more frequently, when it's so nice, and I'm kind of like gagged every single time. Like it's not normal to me at all. But even in like working in like these traditional like spaces with media and stuff, I think because my job in entertainment news, I'm working for a TV show that literally has been on since like the 80s. I think it's been on for so long. But my role in it has always been like digital. I've always done like social, and especially now like I'm doing digital video. So I've always had to like almost youngify. I don't know whatever the right word would be. Youngify is the professional word I would use. But like I'm literally taking interviews from like Ryan Gosling from like the 90s or like early 2000s, and like I call it like crack editing, which isn't PC. I apologize, but like making it like a TikTok like Gen Z-ish like version of an interview from like 30 years ago. You know, so I've always had to kind of like occupy like these traditional spaces, but kind of fulfill this like younger like digital vibe to it, if you will. But yeah, as far as like people like liking the podcast and like me or whatever, I'm still kind of coming to terms with it, to be honest. Like it all is like very new. I think the best part is like when other creators I watch like me. I think that's like the kind of the gaggiest. Like it was so weird hearing from you, because I've watched you a lot, and like I think another one that gagged me was like Pokimane. I was like, that's what the one. Hell? And like Cutie Cinderella too. Like I love her, and like so these people that I like, you know, watching and then like saying they like me, I think that's kind of the gaggiest too. Like I can't fully process it, to be honest.
So in terms of your streaming, because I've seen you. I was watching one of your last Dress to Impress ones. Oh my God. Love that game.
Research. Oh my God.
So research being you just watching the stream. I was loving
that's
it.
Research.
So where can people find you for the streaming?
I'm streaming on YouTube. I think my channel is just my name, Oscar Gracey. I think I'm really still figuring out the branding of it all. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm trying to stream every Sunday. I'm trying to be more consistent about it. I literally have been like, I got my setup in 2019 because I was like, I'm going to be a streamer. And I've only streamed, I think 4 times in total since 2019. But I'm trying to be more consistent about it. It's hard now because like just having time for it. Because like, I don't know, being able to like work and then also stream after, it's kind of like a lot. And as you know, like it's also like, does it drain your social battery at all? Because like you are kind of engaging with like chat and stuff, and it is weirdly also social. Like you have to talk to people, entertain them. Do you get like drained by it at all? Or
well, the thing is, it's like when it depends what mood I'm in. I do 2 different things, and obviously when you're doing Just Trish, you're filming for long periods of time, right? And it's like a long back and forth conversation. And I feel that like whenever I film content, I either have one of 2 moods. If I'm in a good mood, I will go live. And I feel that is the equivalent of this because it's so much back and forth. And then if I'm not in a good mood, I will film YouTube videos, edit them, and post them. Like, it really depends. Like, so if I'm in a good mood, I'm live. If I'm not, you're getting the videos, like, you know what I mean? And a lot of that just genuinely boils down to, I agree with you, social battery. And it's really strange to be like talking to a camera sometimes can whatever. But I think just like what you were saying about like, you're glad you don't edit anymore. I think being a creator, talking so goddamn much.
Yes.
Hearing yourself talk so goddamn much like this, and then editing it, seeing it, having to promote it, and like watching premieres again on YouTube and like listening to yourself or listening to like live streams back, like you can start to fucking turn on yourself.
Yes.
And I have found myself doing that. So I do want to clarify that whenever I say like in a bad mood, it means like I don't want to fucking hear myself. And I will try my best because I don't have an editor or anything like that. And also my content, like, it's very clear there's not an editor there. I hit fucking play and I go, you're getting what you get.
That's fierce.
But I think a main reason for that is because I do everything myself. I'm like, I try to limit as much as possible seeing or hearing myself.
Yeah, I feel that.
Also, I do have a question for you because the Just Trish thumbnails always eat. Do you use Rem?
Yes, I have the Remedy Pro. I have the Pro or whatever. It's like, it's worth it.
Well?
Yes, it is worth it. It eats. And I love it too because it's like, again, I kind of troll a little bit because I'll like do the remedy first and then I'll face tune after to give like the expressions. And I think at first people were kind of like, I think people thought I was trying to make it look natural or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm trying to make it look like, you know, a caricature almost.
Well,
but
to give a little bit of clarification to people, how's it pronounced? Is it
Remedy? Yeah.
Remedy. It's this app where you can upload a photo of someone or a photo of anything and it will enhance it, and it enhances so goddamn much.
You're snatched.
And I use it in my thumbnails as well. And then the thing is, what I always think whenever I see the Just Trish do you make them?
Yeah.
So the thing is, people underestimate how goddamn hard it is to make a thumbnail if you do not have the subject in which you're talking about
be posing.
Like this.
Yes.
And I know because when you've ever put me in Just Trish thumbnails, I'm like, when I stop and like, it is so easy for someone to like put me in a hate video thumbnail because I'm so expressive that it's so unflattering. And whenever you have ever put me in a thumbnail, I'm like, wow, you have got me where my mouth is closed and I don't have a weird ass expression. And I'm like, I know you do what I do, which is stopping and starting and
oh my God, we are
starting.
too similar. That's so funny.
And
yes.
it's so fucking annoying.
Frame by frame.
It's so goddamn annoying. People don't understand like how much effort, and like I have always gotten criticism for people being like, wow, that's a really unflattering thumbnail of Tana Mojo, or that's a really unflattering one of Joy Graceffa. And I'm like, motherfucker, you have no idea how many screenshots of options I have. And I've started now being like, fuck it. Like with Mr. Beast especially, there's not much footage of like him talking.
Yes.
So I will go through like his Google images where he's on a red carpet and smiling.
Yes.
And I'll put it through fucking Face App and I'll change it to a frown.
That's honestly what we gotta do these days. Yeah, they write like with Mr. Beast, who was, like Cody Code too. Like I ran out of videos of him. I was like, damn, because he was in the thumbnails like every week for like a month, and I was like, now I just kind of reuse the ones I've already like edited. I'm like, we only have so much to work with, you know. Luckily, like a Tana, she poses in her thumbnails, so I'll kind of steal the canceled ones because there's like a website where you can download the high res of other people's thumbnails. So
YouTube thumbnail downloader.
Yeah, you know the motherfucking tea, you know. So I'm in there, I'm like, do, and then I cut her out, and then I take her to face, you know, like let me adjust her expression a little bit, you know, let me jazz it up. And when we have guests too, whenever I'm there, cause a lot of the time Trisha will do them without me, but whenever I'm there, I'm like, girls, we got to pose. Like I can't be going through here looking through the frames to have you look in some type of way. Like I need you to be posed the house, you know? Because when they don't, it's like, you're right. It is there's so many frames of people like talking that you can like jazz them up, you know? It's hard.
It's always very interesting because whenever I was doing like podcasts like last summer talking about the Colleen thing, obviously people were asking me questions where I wasn't smiling and they would send it to me and they'd be like, we don't really have a good thumbnail for you, babe. And I'm like, it's exactly like what we're talking about, which is like, if you've recorded like an hour, 2 hours, whatever like that, like you have to scroll to find when that person's just resting their face.
In between questions or something. Yeah.
How do you find the topics for Just Trish?
A lot of them because I work in entertainment news, it kind of helps a bit because we literally like at my work, there's like do you know what Slack is? I don't know.
I know Slack.
Okay. Yeah. So we have like a channel that where literally like any big kind of news people flag in there. So I'm just constantly like absorbing headlines, which is kind of a problem because I absorb a lot of headlines, but then I won't like read the full tea in the articles. So sometimes I get things wrong, but I try to be as researched as possible. But yeah, so I filter in a lot of news and also chronically online. So I'm always on Twitter. So I like all the pop bases, pop craves, all the craves. So I feel like I filter a lot of information that way. And then usually like the day before, like on a Sunday, I'll go through like all the big ish websites for like pop culture, like an E-News, like a BuzzFeed, Cosmo, People, Digzerto, and then I'll see what speaks to me, I guess, what I think our audience will care about. And then like I'll type up notes for like each of the stories. So I kind of do my prep separate, then Trisha does her prep separate, and then we kind of just fire back and forth. That's kind
How
of
long is the typical filming for that? Because those are fucking long. And you also do the Patreon night. I'm like, that's a lot of content.
Mondays is when we film Patreon and Hot Topics. So those days I get there like at 10 and I usually end like around 3. And then Wednesdays I'll film after work, and those are shorter because we don't do Patreon, so it's just like the 2.5 hours. And then every other,
which still is long.
It's long, that's long. I know. I'm like, it's just 2.5 hours. I remember the first time we started at like an hour and 15 minutes, I think, and then it kept going up and up and up, and then eventually, especially when I was having to edit them myself, like go home and edit that same night, I was like, I'm editing Oppenheimer every night. Like, this is crazy. This is Avengers fucking Endgame.
Sometimes
like,
longer.
Sometimes longer. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? So that's why I'm very, very thankful I don't have to edit myself because it was fucking draining. And then every other Friday, after I get off work, we'll shoot. We'll bank like a few Patreon like bonus videos too. So we kind of have it down a little bit. And I think with the babies too, Trisha's trying to like film on very specific days, so she has more of like a balance between filming and being with the kids and stuff. So it's been pretty helpful.
And you just came back from vacation, which was a big thing because Trisha was rotating special guests. Shout out Daniel Prada again. Hope you're doing well, babe. So she was rotating these special guests. Now, we're not diving into this. This is not the point, but so much happened over that period that you were gone. How was it to fully detach? And then how was it to come back and whatever the topics were, like have to dive into like how disconnected were you? And then when you came back, were you just kind of like, I don't care about what happened when I'm gone, I'm moving forward? Or did you look back on whatever would have been happening?
I was in Hawaii for a week, and I kind of needed it mentally because I was, again, like the 2 jobs, they're not hard jobs. Like, people are really working hard jobs, but it is just like a lot of work and not a lot of time off. So I was just like on the cusp of like burnout, I think. So, and I literally like I pretty much do like one vacation a year too, because like you work at a traditional job, you have to like request time off, like you don't have unlimited time off. So I have like one vacation a year, and this time because I was so like on the cusp of burnout, I was like, I'm gonna be like as detached as possible. So I was just like, I would check Pop Base or Pop Crave like at night, and that was kind of like the gist of the information I got. And I felt like anything I missed, I was like, it's just not a part of my journey. Because I just, like, I'm like, it's just not for me.
I'm going to start saying that.
It's just, it's like, it's not a part of your journey. If you miss it, it's just not a part of your journey. Like, it's not for me, you know? And also, like, my mom got sick too, like, right before I left. So I was just so, like, emotional. And I was like, I kind of just need, like, reset and, like, reprioritize my life. Because especially, like, the summer was so much drama. And I don't, like... it's like, again, our own undoing, but then people will come to me like, oh, why don't you talk about this or that, or you said this instead of this, and I'm like, I don't know, like I'm trying my best, you know, but there was so much drama, and like I feel like everything was getting like cherry picked and stuff, and I was like, then my mom got sick, and I was like, oh my god, this is overwhelming, you know. So I was happy to kind of like remove myself for a week. The only thing I caught up on afterwards was the Tatty Westbrook Michelle Pfant interview, because Trisha was like really excited to show me it. So we sat down and we filmed me watching the whole thing for Patreon, and that was a journey. I was like, this is wild.
Oh, Tatty, babe.
I was like, this is
no matter what.
I was more mad at Michelle Pfant, to be honest. Like that, like how do you get an interview like Tatty Westbrook and then you're not asking like follow-ups? Like there was no follow-ups. I was gagged. Like it could have been the interview of the year, I think. But literally, like Tati was saying the craziest stuff imaginable. And she was like, you're so brave. Like, that's the only thing you have to say to Tati, like, airing all this tea out. I was like, my God, this is crazy. So that was the only thing I was like, I need to, like, clock that tea. Everything else, I'm like, it's not for me, you know?
The good thing about Tatty that I absolutely adore is no matter what she's talking about, the makeup is on and the hair is done.
The skin glowing. I'm
She
like,
will always
damn,
give me some of those
snatch.
Halo Beauty.
I know. I'm like,
gimme.
maybe that shit really does work.
The Michelle Phan thing, I agree with you, is really interesting. I mean, obviously, I believe as well that the reason that Tatty Westbrook did the podcast is because, and you'll know this if you have guests on, and I've even experienced it throughout this week of filming, like a lot of people will automatically go into it being like, I will talk about this, but I'll not go deep. Or I don't want to talk about this, you can talk about this. So I do believe as well that there's probably a very little Michelle could have worked with. But at a certain stage, if Tatty is saying the craziest shit imaginable, I want to hear more. Like, I completely agree with you. But that interview was that was a hit. What a way to kick off your podcast.
That was crazy. And also, wasn't it like 8 months old or something too? I was like, that is wild.
Yeah, it was because Tatty had posted then her sober video and she was like, me and Michelle filmed this time ago. And I'm like, I don't know about you, but if I do something, I need it like to be out there or seen like instantaneously.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold on to things.
No, like even for like our podcast, like when she was pregnant, like we had to film like a month in advance just in case whenever the baby would come. And we would do interviews and then we would be on Hot Topics talking about the interviews because we can't shut up. Like we just want it to be out. You know, there's just no way. But like, I don't know, that Tatty one was crazy. I honestly, this is just my opinion. I mean, when I interviewed Tatty, the only thing I couldn't ask her about was Shane and Jeffrey. But I think because the power dynamic with the Michelle, like she's so respected in the beauty community industry, I don't know if she got the same guidelines. She was just saying all this wild stuff that it's like you couldn't ask for like a clarity, like when James Charles was like pursuing me, blah blah blah, and I was like,
but she's a mother. She's a mother to him. She's a mother to him.
And like to ask no questions about like, but weren't you upset about the gummies? Like, how can Tatty like not bring up the gummies at all when that was like, I was like, wait, what? It was so like rewriting history. Again, it was a very like, I cannot stand people trying to like gaslight me into like rewriting history again with like the Colleen, and it was like. And, with the Jojo Siwa, Todrick of it all, like, they're all lying, blah, blah, blah. Like, you admitted to it. Yeah. Like, what? Like, Tatty, you were in this video saying you're upset about the gummies. Like, don't sit there and say, like, James Charles did everything. And I'm in no way James Charles defender, but I'm like, the truth is the truth. Like, obviously, James Charles went on to do dubious things, but at that time, you were being weird with James Charles. Like, what am I supposed to do about that?
I think as well, like, one thing I'll always love about the lore of By Sister is and I know you just went back and rewatched it as well, like, seeing her face beat, hair done, outfit great, pose great, and in the background there's a Jeffree Star PR package.
Yes,
there's a Jeffree Star PR package.
Yes,
and
those lipsticks.
We're to believe that. When did you interview her? If she said not about Shane and Jeffree,
it was 2019. It was right before Conspiracy Collection, so 2019. It was either right before or right after.
It's interesting. I feel like every video I see from her, like the horribly made thumbnails have like drama, lawsuits, moving on. Like she loves a little word in the thing. Yes. It's like, so I don't know. I think Tatty's a really, really, really interesting one and a whole can of worms. I have a good final question. So you're streaming now and you have this hectic work week. When Just Trish just celebrated its first year.
Yeah.
First year.
1 year old. Yeah.
She's so young. What are you, I hate the question, like, what are you thinking for the next 5 years? Because you never know what can happen. What are you thinking for the upcoming year? Like, what do you look at in your personal career? What would you like to do? What do you think you'll do? Like, give me a little bit of your brain thinking.
It's so, again, it's very odd for me too, because I think because I am like working so much and like genuinely very busy, it is hard for me to like look out very far ahead. Like I am very much in the day to day. I think I do try to set like goals for myself. Like I do see myself staying at Entertainment Tonight, and I do see myself staying with Trisha, obviously. Like I think for me, I would love to like continue to explore, maybe like to play with different formats. I think with the podcast, like something we've talked about is like with guests, like guest episodes, instead of being like, an interview for 2 hours. Like one of the episodes I'm probably most proud of is like the Ted Nivison one, because that's one where I was like, no, Trisha, like I know this is gonna eat. Like she didn't know him, she was very like anxious about having him on because she didn't know what the vibe would be, and I can't even explain it, but I had like a gut instinct that was like, I just know like these two energies are gonna be very well together. And that wasn't so much an interview, it was like, I guess it was half interview, half talking about like hot topics, like the solar eclipse or whatever, but I would love to kind of like play with that format more and kind of do like up the production a little bit with like the podcast, like having guests on, but not having it necessarily be like a full interview. Like maybe they're more of like almost kind of like how Daniel and Sloan were, but like with me being there, kind of be more produced, I guess. Like, I think that's a big goal for me, is to kind of play with like the format and stuff. Because at the end of the day, for me, like, I am like a hard worker and I care about like the product I put out. And like, I am constantly like seeing the criticism, the valid, constructive criticism. And I'm like, okay, period. Like, let me figure out how to incorporate that, So I think that's kind of like my big goal, is to kind of like elevate the podcast even more. Like, I would want to get like a new graphics package at some point to kind of make it look a little bit more like produced. Like I almost want it to be like a little bit, this is crazy to say, but even more Wendy, like if I want the Wendy's graphic package, like.
I was going to say, if you're editing the length of Oppenheimer, it's going to be.
Yeah, you might as well elevate it, like make it a little bit more cinematic. So that's like definitely another goal. And with the streaming stuff, I'm not trying to be like any of the girls, really. I'm not trying to be like a Pokemon. I would like to stream. My goal for myself right now is at least once a week, and kind of see where that goes. I'm not trying to be like an influencer at all, but I think it would be a help financially if I could like do the micro influencer thing, maybe do a couple Instagram
My favorite
deals.
niche.
Internet being celebrity. A micro influencer seems like the tea, because you don't have the pressures of being like, having a humongous audience, and like a Tana or something where it's like, it's almost too overwhelming. Being micro sounds cool. Like, I'm not trying to be the top dog. Like, I want to be like, mid to low. I think that's kind of the goal for me, and be able to kind of have a little bit more of my brand. Right now, I'm really bad at posting because I like do social media for a job. So it's like, at the end of the day, I don't want to do my own,
fair.
but I'm trying to push myself to do it like a little bit more. And I would love to get celebrities on Just Trish. We keep getting really close. We've been talking to so many people. The week that we talked about you coming on, it was like literally the most depressing, because we were like a day away from having like a dream guest on, and then they had to cancel or reschedule, I should say, at the very last minute. And I was like, oh my God. And I knew that one was going to be the gateway, because I think, again, like we talked about earlier, Trisha, I think people are a little apprehensive about being on, but I knew this person was going to be like the gateway to like being like, oh, celebrities can go on here, So that was devastating, but we're working back towards it. So that's like definitely another goal, is to get a few like traditional celebrities at some point. And I do think that will happen. But yeah, I think I really want to just like elevate the podcast even more, and still keep it a little homegrown. I think that's kind of the charm, is that it's just like us, but maybe up the ante a little bit, I think that's the big thing.
It's very mischievous the way you said that. I think there's a really good formula there. I think the back and forth of you and Trisha works so well. I think the audience react to it really well. And I know you want to at most be a niche internet, but I believe that truly with your background, the fact you're a very hard worker with Entertainment Tonight and a very hard worker on Just Trish as well. People love a work ethic, and people also love a person to identify with. And I think the fact that you are front facing, that you are funny, that you are able to very much so hold a conversation with your co-host and not be swamped by your co-host. There's a really good back and forth. Yeah. I think that people like it's a really, really, really good formula. And I think it'll be interesting to see like how this goes. And the next time I interview you, you'll be like, can't believe I ever said I wanted to be like a little niche.
I know, I'm gonna be that girl, bitch. I'm gonna be like all about it.
So before, did you do a little at the end of that?
Oh my God, I must have.
You did a little
I probably did
at the end of that.
We spend way too much time with each other that like I think I pick up
You just did it.
many mannerisms.
You just did it. Wow, that was crazy to hear in the flash.
Clocked it. Oh my God,
that was crazy.
That's
and
so
it's
funny.
the first time I think you did it. Wow, my goodness. Before we end this, if you look at this camera and you say where to find you with streaming, with social media, everything will be linked down below. But how personal is this that you get a direct message?
This is so fierce. I live for it. You can follow me on Instagram, Instagram at Oscar Gracey.
You got it, baby. You got it.
YouTube, I think my channel is just my name, Oscar Gracey. And that's pretty, I guess you can find me on Twitter, but I won't be tweeting, but I'll see your tweets at Oscar Gracey. And I'm not on TikTok and nowhere else. I don't want to be too reachable, I think. I try to keep it, not
me
too,
on the other hand, very
everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you
on.
for having me. I'm so honored.
I also want to say like how easy you were to organize this.
Thank you.
It's been very hard with some people with schedules and stuff like that, but you were so easy and so forthcoming with this. So thank you so goddamn much.
Of course, I know how hard it is. So I'm going to try to be as accommodating as possible. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate that. And social medias will be linked down below. I appreciate you all for watching. I will see you in the next one, and goodbye.